tell you, we need doctors in that space. We need lawyers in that space. We need legislators in that space. We need the people who are really empowered to be in that space, because there's some things that need to happen on ground level that once the grassroots people have gotten it here, there needs to be money put behind these things. A lot of the problems that we have now that are erupting could have been solved in 96, 2006, 2016, and all these other years, but we chose not to because we trusted the right thing's going to happen. Right thing's not going to happen unless we make it. And after that, you have the potential to truly be brothers and sisters. You have the potential to be past the letting cultural, national, religious markers evict the fact that I know that I'm talking and I'm with a human being, and at our very core, past any physical difference, my job is to honor the soul of that other human being. So there's no need to have allies, there's no need to have an ally because there's no threat of war. I refuse to send any 18-year-old boy or girl off to die. And that has to be something that's much, much deeper than policy, much, much deeper than the human condition in the last 500 years. We have to get back to that. So that's my humble opinion. I don't know, where that takes white America, but I hope we stay standing up, fighting together.
Mike, we've been having this great conversation, and a lot of people watching, they probably want to know, because again, these things happen in flashes where 1 minute we're talking about this, everybody's fired up, everybody's willing to do things, and then the next minute, the momentum dies. So how can the people who are watching now, how can they keep this conversation, this action, this momentum going?
Take this conversation, get 8 to 10 people around you, your neighbors and people who live within 10 square miles, and start to see what you can do to affect. And then connect with other people that may be in closer proximity, 30, 40, 50 miles, even another city or places that are doing it right, in other places. Connect with those people and just if all of us do a little bit, no one has to do a lot. If all of us do a little, if all of us pick a little to do, no one will have to do a lot.
That's a word right there. If we all do a little bit, nobody has to do a lot.
Has to do a lot, absolutely.
Nobody has to do a lot. Mike, I have enjoyed this conversation like I enjoy every conversation with you. I can certainly talk to you. Yes, it is mutual. The mutual respect and love. Thank you for everything you do on the ground. I mean, so many people, I knew that you tell the truth the way it needs to be told, but a lot of people during this time of crisis have been exposed to you and understand that, you really are for the people. This is called We the People. This is you all day long. So thank you for all the work and all the inspiration, all the words, everything that you're adding to this conversation, and more importantly, to this action. With that said, we have to say goodbye, but we don't have to get out of here just yet, because I'm gonna toss this on to my brother, Van Jules, who can take it from here.
Jamel and I, we spent the past hour, we've been talking to Killer Mike, we've been talking to Elaine Welteroth. We also got a chance to see that amazing video from Lil Baby. Jamel, what did you get from your conversation with Killer Mike? And more importantly to me, what do you make of this moment that we're in?
The one thing you can always expect from Killer Mike is blunt honesty. I think that's why a lot of people look at him as a really credible voice right now. He's honest about what he knows and honest about what he doesn't know. So I think when you have those elements, that's going to always make for a pretty good conversation. I'm with you. This moment at the same time is welcome. It's also a little bit surreal in terms of what took us so long to get here, to make sure that we're not always starting from ground zero every time we have to have a significant conversation about race in this country.
Why do you think it's different this time? Because there have been videos before, and yet people still now act like they're shocked. Help me understand what's different this time from your point of view. What's your theory?
It's two things that I think stood out about the George Floyd video. One, there was no yeah, but. And granted, in my mind, we've seen videos where there was no yeah, but people nevertheless invented a yeah, but. But in this one, there really wasn't one. Even if you were Stretch Armstrong trying to stretch and find one, there just wasn't one. What always has just stuck with me is the look on this officer's face as he was kneeling on George Floyd's neck. It was so cold. It was as if this were Thursday. And he showed such little emotion, remorse, any emotion you want to name, he didn't show any of that as he killed a man in the middle of the street with bystanders looking on. So I think that situation, coupled with the fact we had already been reeling from Ahmaud Arbery, we had already been reeling from Breonna Taylor. And even though the situation wasn't fatal, there was definitely a storm of frustration at what happened with Christian Cooper. So this all together leads us to this moment where finally, even the most adamant naysayers who wanted to pretend as if this wasn't a structural problem, what could they say? I mean, there was nothing else that could be said. And I think everybody who was already fed up decided now is the moment, now is the time. The world has slowed down because of COVID-19. If we are going to address this, this needs to happen now.
I've never seen 20, 30 million white people asking black people for leadership. That's interesting because they say, well, what do you want me to do? And I'm like, well, I don't know. Google is a powerful tool. I don't know. I'm realizing now, though, that this is an honest question. How do you think that we as African Americans and our allies can rise to meet a moment like this and actually accept the fact that we may actually have a couple million new allies? And how do we deal with that? That's new for us.
I'm glad you used the word leadership because there's a difference between us being put in a leadership position and us being put in an educational position. The educational part, we are long past, right? Like we don't want to be educating anybody else about race. We're not here to soothe you. We're not here to make you feel better. But leadership is something different. And it looks different depending on how you want us to take that leadership. Certainly, we are accustomed to being a voice on these issues. We're accustomed to setting the agenda. It's fine if we continue to lead in that direction. I think what we're looking for is, if this were, a relay race, we want to pass the baton and we want you to be able to say, okay, here's what we've been feeling about this issue. Here's what needs to happen to